Oh man, I'm not happy to make this video, and this video could have very much bankrupt me, but I kind of want to run down some of the costs, some of the things that are happening, the reasons why I'm talking about some of the things I'm talking about when it comes to my Lexus IS250. If you missed the last video, today we're going to be covering the costs about all the issues I was having. Last video I talked about, ran through all of the different issues I was having with this car. I'm going to cover the big ticket items, things I want to do, things that I think that will help the car in the future, because the car has just about 70,000 miles on it, and I want to make sure this car gets to 150,000 miles, and that would be me doing stuff now to the car that would help it in the future. Because of just unluckiness, previous owner neglect, and honestly the car just not getting enough attention, and because of all of that, the car has a couple of issues that could leave me stranded in the future, that could be more costly if I don't fix them now. This is going to be a saga on the channel. It's probably going to be a very, very big project on the channel. I'm going to try to divide it up as much as I can so that in the future you guys can come back if you do own IS250s and see how I did everything. But also, I'm going to make it entertaining, because working in cars sometimes isn't the most entertaining. But let's talk about the things that are wrong and how much they're going to cost. I've talked about costs before. I talked about kind of an estimate in my head, but I have some hard numbers. Those numbers I have picked up from forums about how much people were charged or were supposed to be charged on the bills and whatnot. So let's run through it and added the total up, because I think the car will mechanically total itself. Some of these costs add up insanely quickly, which is why I'm saying this car is going to be mechanically totaled, or I know this car is going to be mechanically totaled. I estimate this car being worth around $10,000 to $12,000 with the mileage, all-wheel drive. IS250s kind of sit around the $5,000 to $10,000 range, but most of them have like 200,000 miles on them. This car still only has about 75,000 miles, which is crazy. The main thing I want to talk about in today's video is how much this is going to cost me and what I have to do in order to logically afford this, and what someone would do if they don't want to work on the car themselves. I had a bigger ticket item taken care of a little while ago because the car left me stranded and I had to get it fixed, and that would be the alternator. The alternator cost me $600 to get fixed, and I'm hoping that might fix my electrical issues that I'm having in the car once I reset the car. I didn't do that work myself. I had to pay labor, all of these things, because I wanted the car back on the road ASAP. So that $600 probably would have costed half of that, because labor. And rightfully so. A shop has to make money. In order to make money, they have to charge the labor cost, because otherwise it would make 0 cents. But I don't want to drag you guys on too long, so let's get straight into it. The first issue that I'm having is the water pump. Lexus quoted me $1,000 for the water pump. Private mechanic said anywhere between $700 to $800. So I would save immediately $200 if I didn't take it to Lexus/Toyota. And that would be a logical option, logical choice, because they're certified to work on vehicles. So why would you not take it and save the money? Because this isn't a high performance exotic car of any nature like that. I'm gonna go with Lexus numbers though, because I have those more accurately at the moment. So $1,000 right off the bat. Then the CV boot is leaking. The CV boot quoted by Lexus is an $800 to $1,000 fix. Let's just say $800 to keep it safe. I'm pretty sure they replaced more than just the CV boot axle. The inner one is leaking, which is causing a little bit of vibration, I believe. I'm pretty sure they replace the whole thing. If they don't, they charge a lot for labor, and I think it's a very labor intensive job, which is the reason it's so expensive. It's a $25 to $50 part that runs into the hundreds of dollars. Now the next issue I'm having is an exhaust leak, and I believe the cats are going bad. I'm not sure how much that's going to cost. I estimate about $300 to $600 for the parts alone, and I think an exhaust shop might charge me $100 to $150 to do something with that. If it's just an exhaust leak, I can probably do it for about $100, maybe even less, but it really depends on what's wrong, and I haven't got a chance to investigate, which kind of makes that up in the air, but I can smell the cats at some point, so I believe it is that. We'll just say $500 to get all of that done. So we're what, $2,300 in already? Let's add another $700. My diff is leaking in the rear, which I have no idea what's wrong with it. I have no idea what the issue is. I'm pretty sure it's a seal that's leaking, and I was told by Lexus in order to do that whole job, it's anywhere between $400 to $500, sometimes even $700 to $800. We'll call it an even $700, just to round it up to an even $3,000. My rear brakes need replacing. I believe the pads are done. I think the rotors are still fine. That's not really the biggest deal in the world. That's a wear item, something that's supposed to go wrong. I'm just gonna keep it at $3,000 because I might have overshot the last couple. Now the next one is to make my Christmas tree of a dash stop lighting up like a Christmas tree, and that is going to be installing TPMS sensors in my tires. I was quoted $260 for that from a private mechanic. I'm just going to go off of that number of $260. So we're sitting at $32.60 right now. I'm gonna round it up to an even $35 because I have put a couple more $100, $500 for the tires, a couple $100 in the lights because my lights stopped working when I first got the car. My window switch I got another $100 into, so we'll round it up to $35 just for the stuff I've already done to it. So another issue I'm having, like I said, that window switch panel stopped working and it's still kind of intermittently not working. I'm going to try asking the guy who replaced it, because at the time I did have someone replace it. He maybe knows something that could be causing it more than just the panel. Otherwise, I'm going to have to look into it. My memory seats also aren't working. I feel like just those two things combined can also go another $500 pretty easily with someone digging around and trying to figure out what's wrong. So we're already at $4,000. Now the next thing I want to do is just service items, preventative maintenance, but also just upkeep of the car in order to make it run smoother and have another peace of mind that the car has been maintained and has been meticulously looked after. The first thing I'd want to do would be a PCV valve, which carbon buildup can get really bad on that valve. So if you replace it, it's a $15 part, nothing crazy, probably 50 bucks with maintenance, but I'm just gonna keep it at 4,000 because I am rounding a little bit, but it's not something huge. Then I'd also want to do spark plugs. Spark plugs cost about $100, maybe like an hour worth of labor, so probably another 200 bucks from Lexus. So I'd assume spark plugs would cost $300 if I was to get them from Lexus, $4,300 already into the car. And then since we have to do the water pump, there's going to be a coolant flush and all of those things. I was quoted a coolant flush was a couple $100. To change the trans fluid was another couple $100, and to do switch the fluids out was a couple $100. I know you're not supposed to change the trans fluid and you're supposed to remove and add fluid. We'll talk about that when we do it, if we do it, but let's just add, you know, what we're at 42, 43, let's just go to 45 with all of the fluids and flushing and all the systems like that, brake flushing, just to get all the fluids changed out and to get new fluids in your car. I think if you don't know if fluids have been changed and you have a car that you bought with some higher mileage, you should just go ahead and do that. Now consider this next one cheating or don't, but the next thing would be the dash. So these dashes were recalled by Lexus at one point in time, but Lexus no longer honors that. They no longer honor the refund or recall or whatever you want to call it in terms of what the dashes had. There's cracks, there's pitting. These dashes are very, very, very sensitive, and Lexus knows that. These side panels right against here are also very sensitive, and again, Lexus knows that, but they no longer do anything about it. Now some of my long-term subscribers may know the number that I'm about to say already, but for those who don't, how much do you think that Lexus charges to replace a dash? Go ahead, leave it in the comment section down below right now, because you're probably going to be a little underestimating it. Lexus charges $4,000. $4,000 to replace this dash, which was once done for free. That is insane. That brings our total to $8,500. Basically, mechanically totaling a car. In order to mechanically total a car, I believe the bill has to be 50% or more of the car's value, which that $8,000 is definitely more than the 50% worth of this car's value. A moment in silence from my bank account. Now let's backtrack. Let's talk about how much this is gonna cost me if I was to do everything myself. Water pump, 400 bucks. To get all of the TPMS stuff taken care of, possibly $0 fee, maybe $50, $60. Let's just go 500, keep it even. Brakes, let's throw in at 200 because I might do all four around. So we're at, what, 700 now. Interior to get these window switches, memory seats taken care of. I have no idea. It could be a simple reset now that the whole car's alternator is working and everything. Possibly wasn't getting enough power, but it still could be a costly repair. I'm just gonna zero it out for now, because even if I can fix it for $300-400, I probably won't, because the windows work intermittently, or they intermittently fail, but eventually it starts working again. And the memory seats, honestly, if it's a $400 repair, I can live without them for a little bit, and I probably won't fix them. To replace that rear diff could be anywhere between $100 or $300, because we could replace the whole diff. We could put an FRS diff in it, which apparently bolts up right to it. But most likely, it's probably like a $100 fix. So we'll go to $800 for that. Spark plugs, PCV valve, cleaning up the engine bay, and a couple of those odd bits and pieces that I didn't really mention but probably might do. Let's just say another $100. So what, we were at 7 or 800, I forget. Let's just say rounded up to 1,000. The interior I'm probably gonna spend $200 on, because this vent right here is popped out. The vent might need replacing. Just a couple of bits and pieces, like I might replace the carpet and whatnot. So we'll say $200. We're at $1,200. The CV axle boot, again, it was a $25, $50 part. Let's call it $100 just to keep it even and rounded. So we'll go to $1,300. Small things like wipers, maybe I need a belt, maybe I need, the coolant, all of those things. We'll round up, we'll add another $300 worth of costs for miscellaneous items and possibly tools that I might need. So let's go to $1,500. Now, like I said, I'm probably not gonna do the exhaust myself. So I'm just gonna tack on $500, go to around even $2,000, and see what happens with that. And now the last and final thing. Again, you can call it cheating that I put the dash cost in it. I understand. It is a little sneaky of me to do it. I get it. But I think realistically, if I wanted to find a used dash option, I might be able to pick up a junkyard dash that's been replaced out of an IS250 somewhere in the US for $400 or $500. Let's go $2,500. The other option would be probably, I want to say, $50 fix. Some of you may be confused at this moment in time, but let me explain. This dash is rubbery. It's a decent material, but again, over time it cracks, it flakes, it chips, and if you run your fingers through it, it will go with your nail. This right here, the whole headliner here, is like an Alcantara. It's not really Alcantara, but it's like a soft material that reminds me of it. What if I just wrap the dash? As simple as that. What if I just wrapped the dash? I go get a suede type of material from a fabric store. I wrap the dash for 50 bucks. I think it'd look pretty good. Should solve all the issues I'm having. So what, I said $2,500 for everything, but that $2,500 could be $2,000 if I do decide to cut some edges. In times like this and in situations like this, it's not bad to cut corners sometimes, as long as you cut the right corners. I am, however, gonna add $500 for exterior touch-ups. I'm not gonna probably spend $500. I'm probably gonna spend like $100 on a nice buffing on the car and do it myself. I just feel like rounding up to $3,000. $8,500 versus $3,000. That $3,000 I could probably round down and get to $2,000 if I wanted to, and I think the car is worth doing that too. What do you guys think? Even if I was to sell the car, I would need to replace a couple of the things and still spend about $2,000. It's the smaller pieces, the things that aren't gonna cost a ton of money. Like the dash, if I wrap the dash for 50 bucks, it'd make the car look way different. If I spent the time to get my TPMS sensors taken care of, an owner wouldn't see a flashing, triangle at them if they did decide to come and buy the car, and it's something I would have to do. But like I said, the question is, would you guys spend the money? Do you think that it'd be worth it for you to fix these things, or would you just fix the stuff that needs to be fixed to make it look good and sell the car? I think we're gonna do it. I think we're gonna fix it. It's gonna be a little bit of a process, but I think in the end of everything, it's gonna be worth it. You hear some people having a rough time with IS250s, but for the most part, most owners get to see hundreds of thousands of miles, and because of owner neglect, this car is what it is. This is why I always say take care of your cars. Stay tuned for the future saga with this car, what we do, when we do it, and all the different things, because it will document everything. That is all I got. Check out another Lexus video, subscribe, leave a like, and I'll see you guys in the next video.